Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Phoenix Wisdom Podcast. I am your host, Janet Sandberg. I am a transformational life coach, energy healer, and divine channel, and a bunch of other stuff, helping people get through the gunk to live the lives that they want to be living. And also hosting this podcast. Today, I am here with Randi-Lee Bowslaugh. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's start off by just learning a little bit about you.
All right. Well, just before we got started, you learned that I have lots of pets.
Yes.
So I got 5 cats and 3 dogs. So you might see one pop in. I also have 2 grown children, a scary and a grandbaby. And my husband and I are just about on our 13-year wedding anniversary next week.
Amazing.
So that's my current life status. And then I'm an author. I'm also my own podcaster on the Ride or Die show. I love horseback riding. I used to be a kickboxer. Lots of things.
Cool. Those are 2 very different things, horseback riding and kickboxing.
They are, but in my world, they go together.
Yeah.
They're both strong sports.
They are, and they both take a lot of mental focus and like really being present, which I guess, you know, a lot of sports do, but I feel like those in particular.
I would agree. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so everything sounds awesome, but obviously it wasn't always awesome or you wouldn't be here on the podcast.
Right. I know. I always like to start with the good stuff because then there's like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. Yes. But let's go back a little bit to the darkness. And if you could share what was going on when you were feeling suicidal.
So, I mean, there's been a few times in my life, as I think most people with depression know, there's ups and downs.
Yeah.
So I'll go way back in the day, to kind of the first bout of depression. I was a teenager, probably around 13, 14 years old. And there was a few different things going on in my life. So first off, I suffer from depression, which it's something going on in my brain. It just doesn't quite fire the same way that a not depressed brain fires. So that was something we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I do take medication now, and it makes a huge difference. And so if it works for you, I always say do what works for you, and that
Exactly
is helpful. So not knowing that is kind of a key piece. And then also later in my 30s, I found out that I have autism, which I look back and I go, oh, that's why I didn't feel like I fit in and did this and that. And yeah, exactly. So again, a key piece of not knowing who I was back then also, spiraled me down.
Yeah.
And that was my internal stuff. External, so that's bad enough, right? Hating on yourself. But externally, my mom had recently gotten married. So between grade 8 and grade 9, and I mean, grade 9, you're starting high school and it's scary all on its own. And I'm going to a school that I didn't actually know anybody because most of the kids all went to Sir Winston, but I was going to Niagara District. So it was, I really didn't know anybody, maybe like 2 kids in the whole school. So that's scary.
Yes.
And a very long bus ride. And so, I'm going through that. Like I said, my mom married, and he turned out to be an alcoholic.
Oh.
So as a lot of people do, he kind of hid how bad the problem was, until he was comfortable enough to not.
Show everyone.
Exactly. So that led to a ton of screaming matches, a lot of verbal, emotional, mental abuse, never physically or sexually, thank goodness, but a lot of the other stuff, which, led me to go and cower in my room until my mom would be like, go upstairs, go hide. That's where not where my love of animals came in, but like I always loved them, and I would grab my kitties and I'd go in my room and hide. And so that led me though thinking, oh, my mom doesn't care about me. She's always just, go over there.
Right.
Through therapy, I realized nope, she was doing the best she could in her circumstances because she didn't know what else to do.
Trying to keep you safe.
Exactly. But to a 14-year-old brain, that's not what was going on. And then another factor we got to add in there is my brother, who was 4 years older than me. I say that because in 2021, he died of a drug overdose.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks. So he was 4 years older than me and getting into drugs. Actually, at that time, so when I was 14, he was 18, and he was actually in jail at that time. He had started using drugs probably around the time 14-ish. So I had seen him kind of go in and out of the criminal justice system. It was really, so I'm in Canada, everybody. And back then, the legislation was different and it changed, and whether or not it would have made a difference for my brother, I don't know, but it's one of those things where you're always wondering, had it been what it is now back then as opposed to what it was. But anyways, I have a whole chapter in my book about that because it always bugs me. But so my mom was always, again, going to court appearances and trying to do everything for him, and I'm stuck there going, but what about me? Do I just not matter? And again, in my, like, I've had conversations with her now as an adult, and she goes, no, it's because your brother needed me to go there and you were doing fine, because she didn't know what was going on inside. You put on a smiley face, you go to school, whatever, you don't fail. And so when at that time, specifically when I'm 14, we were talking, he gets out of jail. He had been in there almost a year at that point. So he gets out of jail, and my mom tells her ex-husband, like husband at the time. It's always so weird when you're telling stories and you're like, I don't really want to say, husband, because it's not that, but at the time it's strange. And so he was trying to be buddy with my brother, as step parents try to do, right? And my mom kept saying, no, we will rent a room for him, we will help him, but no, he is not living with us, he is not knowing where we live, because of all the stuff that had happened before. Like, I remember my brother, so we had moved while he was in jail, and I remember times when I was a little bit younger where he would come home with like a bloody face because he got in a fight. Or I had walked into the kitchen, and I was probably 10, and I walked into the kitchen and he is smoking something. At the time I didn't know what it was, but whatever it is where you put it between two hot knives and smoke it. And so I don't even know, but it's such a clear memory because it was so shocking that I walked in and goes, oh, you want some? And I'm like, no. And I'm 10 years old.
I am
like,
a child.
what is going right? My mom's at work because she's a single parent. So, and again, I didn't even tell her this stuff because I didn't know, I didn't have the words. And so my mom is no. And of course, Kaz is like, yep, okay, come on. So he has him come live with us. And so my brother is doing what he does. He's doing drugs. He actually had my nephew there, which I adore. My nephew is amazing, and he just graduated college. So just saying, he is awesome. But at that time, I'm in those pivotal years of teenagerism, and everything is just a mess in my house. And I didn't know what the heck depression is, and I didn't know that I had autism, and it's just all of these things. And I just was like, you know what? Everything sucks. Maybe it'd just be better if I wasn't here. So that would be the first, the first fun times of dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts.
But obviously you stayed. You were like, it might be better if I wasn't here, but you decided to stay and keep on trucking. So
yes. So I like to say at that time in my life, honestly, youth group saved me. So there was this really awesome youth group at the church. And it was like the highlight of my week. And I always looked forward to it. And I would sleep over at my aunt's house because it was actually my aunt that I went with, her and my cousins. And it was like so enlightening. And I definitely, between going there and meeting people that actually just accepted me for who I was, which was awesome because when you don't feel like you fit in, it's really hard to find those people. And then in my very black and white world, you could not kill yourself, right? Like that was not, you weren't allowed, because again, reading the Bible, you weren't allowed. So to me, it was just fine. I'm not allowed, which is a good thing that my brain works that way. Right? I'm just not allowed, so I won't do it. It didn't mean that I didn't hate myself. It didn't mean that I didn't think about it constantly, but it was a good way to stay on this side of the grass.
Right. And then how did you proceed from there? Because eventually, obviously, you figured out you had depression and you figured out you had autism.
Right. A long journey there. So from there, that was my teenage years, like I said. So let's say 14 to 17-ish when I'm graduating high school. In my last year of high school, actually, in grade 12, I was 17. And I couldn't take it anymore. I was done. And my best friend at the time, and I look back going, oh my gosh, why were we actually friends? But that's a whole other topic, I think. I'm trying to stay on topic. But she said, you can come and live at my house. So I got out of my situation, went there. Her situation was better, but it didn't help as much as you would think, right? Because you're still now, like, I'm still now feeling like I don't matter. I mean, my mom cried when I told her. She just came home the one day and I'm just packing. I'm like, I'm done. I'm leaving. So she cried. But that was like the first time where I'm like, oh, do I matter to you? Right? Because this whole time it felt like I didn't. And so I moved in with her for probably a good 8 months or so. And then my mom had let me know that Kaz was gone. He had left. They had separated finally. And I said, okay, well, I'll come home, because the situation wasn't, again, it felt so weird living at her parents' house.
Yeah.
They were super nice. It was nothing bad. We each had our own beds. Like they moved their whole house around so we could have the whole basement and everything. But it wasn't home.
Yeah. You're still a guest in their house.
Exactly. And so I moved back home, but it felt weird. When you move back home, it just feels weird.
It does.
And my brother was still there. So it was so weird. So one of the girls that I worked with, I was working at Subway at the time. She was like, hey, I am, so now I've graduated high school. Okay. And she's like, hey, I'm renting this apartment. I'm looking for roommates. I was like, awesome. Count me in. I'm so down for it. And so first, in that December of that year, I went on a missions trip actually to Alabama. It was after Hurricane Katrina. So we went down and we were helping to rebuild the houses and stuff, which was so cool. Except for the cockroaches. That part I was not a fan of.
Yeah, no.
We were tearing down, side note, we were tearing down somebody's garage and we pulled it down and just all these cockroaches fell. Oh, we ran right out. We're like, nope, done. Nope. There was me and a couple other kids that I say kids, but like I said, we're 17 and 18. And we're just like, nope, we're done in there. Somebody else can go. So I got back. And then I moved in with her and she was super nice. Like we jived really good. But there was other circumstances. So when you're in that position, you feel like I'm still not feeling good about life, right? I'm still feeling intense hatred for myself, but also just this emptiness. I think that's the worst part about depression is the emptiness.
Yeah.
Because it's this lack of emotions and trying to just survive in life. Yeah. I also a few years ago got diagnosed with PTSD. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And so I think that the CPTSD, a complex one, right? Really played a big role in my life at this point because I did some silly things. That's how I gloss over. And I ended up getting pregnant. And so I was like, oh, poop.
Mm.
And I'm 18 and pregnant. This was not the
This was
plan.
not part of the plan.
No, absolutely not. Especially with the individual that it happened with. And so I'm just kind of, again, just trying to figure out life. I ended up moving out of that apartment because in the world that I grew up in, and the way my mom would say things is that you just make it work. And that's not, I might cry a little bit. This is the most open I've been about this part of the story. So congratulations. Oh, I'm learning to talk about it.
Yay.
When you are in those situations, you don't need to just make it work. It is okay to tell somebody to F off because you don't have to put yourself into that situation and feel like you are doing it simply because you were taught that you have to keep together.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not the case. And so, but at that time, that's what I thought had to happen. And so I moved in, and I knew right from the beginning that it wasn't right. I knew from the beginning. But I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
And so my mom eventually found out I was pregnant. I actually didn't tell her. So it came out eventually. So I moved out from that apartment with him. I really actually didn't stay there at all because it was just not a good situation. And I was like, I know this is wrong. I can't do this. And I moved in with another friend who was renting an apartment. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we've been friends for a long time. We'll just rent. Her boyfriend turned out to be super abusive, and he kicked me out. Yeah. Oh. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. So it wasn't her. But I was dealing with enough of my own stuff that you're on your own, girl. Like, I'm sorry, but you're on your own. I'm dealing with my own stuff. So now I am pregnant. I am homeless. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Oh, no.
So my aunt took me in, and it's actually a little bit funny because my cousin, so I have 2 younger cousins who lived there. They're grown now, but in my one book, I talk about it a little bit, and my cousin read it, and he goes, you know what? I'm sorry for being so mad at you all those years. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, I was pissed off that you were living with us and that mom let you live with us. Cause I was like, why? Why aren't you going somewhere else? He goes, but after reading that, I understand it.
Aww.
Yeah. So that was nice. Because yeah, it was less awkward because I would say my Aunt Cassie is like a second mom. Really, like she's awesome. Yeah. She's the one that brought me to youth group and all that stuff. So she was fantastic. And so my one cousin, he used to be really, really good at guitar. He's really, really good at doing drugs now. It's a bad way to say it, but that's where he's at. But he used to be really good at playing guitar. So the butthead who I was pregnant by, he was trying to say that he was going to learn guitar so that he could come over to the house, because I had said, no, I'm not seeing you, I'm not talking to you, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So he was trying to be sneaky, trying to get to talk to me again. And so I had to say to my cousin, I was like, you're not, I don't care what he says he's going to pay you, you are not allowed. No, absolutely not. And so then he tried to ultimatum me, saying, if you don't come talk to me, I'm going to tell your family that you're pregnant. I'm like, I'm not talking to you. Like, so he actually is the one that told my aunt that I was pregnant. And so my aunt's like, do you have something to tell me? I'm like, no. So she asked me, and then she's the one that actually ended up telling my mom, because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so and so eventually my mom helped me find my own little apartment. So I did have my own little apartment there, and it was just like a cute little 1-bedroom all for me, but I still didn't know what the heck was going on. So I'm still having these ups and downs with the depression, still trying to figure out how the heck life is going to work now that I'm going to have a baby and be a single parent all of a sudden, or am I keeping the baby? Like all of the things.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't having an abortion, but there's still a lot of other choices that need to be thought about and made.
Yeah.
So I mean, the pregnancy itself was really good. I didn't have morning sickness or none of that. So that was that was a blessing. So eventually I had my baby. So I was 19 when I gave birth. And so she was a cute little peanut. And my mom, not knowing the full story, and again, remember how I said she raised me to just keep together. You just do what's expected of you.
Yeah.
She told him that I had given birth and
Mm.
was like, yeah, sure, come see the baby at the hospital. I'm like, what? Come again. I was like, then you can take the baby out in the hall. He is not coming in this room. He is not coming to see me. No. She still doesn't know the full story even to this day, and my kid is now 18. So not too many people do. And so yeah, that was a whole rigmarole with court and custodies and all those things. But things kind of leveled out-ish for a few years. So when Lev, that's my baby, she was about 6 months old, I met we reconnected, who is my now husband. We actually had met when I was 16. We were both 16 at the time when we met, and we were just kind of friends and stayed in contact, MSN chat way back in the day. But so we reconnected, and the rest is history there. Yeah, so he was going to college that September, and he's like, hey, do you want to, have you thought about it? Because I had gotten into college, and then because my brain was not in the right place, I didn't go.
Sure.
So I was like, sure, let me see what I can apply to. This was like end of July. There wasn't a lot of choices. So I ended up going into, it's called pre-community services. It's the program that's basically what people will take if they're waitlisted from social work.
Okay.
They can take this for the first year. It matches up with the social work. And then if people drop out, you can just jump into year 2.
Okay.
I didn't know if I wanted to be a social worker. It was just a program that looked interesting and was available. So
Right.
sure, let's take it. So I went in there, and that's actually when I started learning about psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this time, I mean, I would say I'm pretty good. I had gotten into housing, so I had my own apartment that I could afford. Things were going well overall. So we're on an upswing.
Yeah.
So we're on a nice upswing. Life is going all right. And then I started taking psychology courses. Absolutely love psychology courses. I took more. But that is when I learned the word depression.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, snap. Okay. Still didn't go to therapy yet because I was fine then. I was totally fine.
Yeah.
So I did 3 years of college because I took another program, graduated, took some university, all for psychology. It was very interesting. And started working in the social services field for a bit. Things, again, we're having some good years here.
Yeah.
And then my kid starts going, for lack of a better term, cray cray. We knew something was a little bit different about her, but my doctor at the time was very old school. And, that's just behavior. That's just kids. Well, no, it's not. So it took until she was 8 before she was diagnosed with autism. And they went through everything else: ADHD, mood dysregulation, sensory integration, like all of these things. And
they're all pieces of the same puzzle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I am like feeling like the worst mother ever because the school is calling me multiple times in the week. They can't deal with her. They won't deal with her. So they're suspending her constantly. I'm trying to figure out where the heck I can send her. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. I can't stay at work. So I'm letting all my coworkers down. And then the house is just going crazy because when she has a meltdown, they're absolutely insane. They're violent. They're screaming. We literally had to call 911.
Oh.
I can't even tell you how many times, like more fingers than I can count. So it took quite a few years to get her leveled out. And during that time, I'm like, you know what? You'd be better off without me. Right? Like this is not working. I had a breakdown at work the one day. I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna drive off the bridge on my way home. That sounds like a great idea. And I mean, the area. There's lots of bodies of water around here.
Yes,
lots of them. So I had it all planned out, but there was, of course, that little nagging voice in the back of my head going, "You're not allowed to do that." Even though I really, really wanted to. but I just felt like the absolute worst person in the world. I was not a good mom. I was not a good worker. I was not a good wife. Like, and nothing was working.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I actually went to therapy. My work had an EAP program, so I went there. Turns out I have bigger problems than a short-term fix.
Yeah. 10 sessions aren't going to do a whole lot.
Exactly. Thanks for getting started. But so I did end up talking to my family doctor, and I went on antidepressants. And yeah, thank you. And so kind of fast forward a little bit because things were like, okay, antidepressants, woo. But there was a few other like dips and sways where I went back to therapy because I'm like, what is happening? But I would say overall, like the therapy really helped me to realize so many things that, like I kind of already mentioned about thinking backwards to my mom, the incidents. How did I learn these values that really don't hold true, and how do I break them?
Yeah.
It's a long process, really.
Yes.
And so I went off of my antidepressants without talking to my doctor, just before about, is it going on 6 or 7 years? Something like that. And I got violently ill. Do not just go off antidepressants without.
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's real bad. That's why I like to share that part. It's real bad. You're going through withdrawal, and it's real bad. And so I went off because I was fine. I was totally fine. I was not at all. It was because of the antidepressants that I was fine. And so I, spiraled back down, got diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
I had two, icing on the cake there. And had 2 surgeries. I had first I had just like, they took out little bits because they thought it was pre-cancer, and then they sent the bits away and found out, oh, actually it's full cancer, so you got to come back. Had a full hysterectomy. And this is when my daughter is going suicidal herself. She had been in and out of the children's mental health ward multiple times so they would normally keep them there for about a week. They would be admitted, they would stay for a week, they would play with medication, and then they'd send her on her way. So it was quite the time. So I didn't even process that I almost died from having cancer until like 2-3 years later.
Yeah.
Because you're just in survival.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And she actually, luckily, she got accepted into, it's called CPRI. So she went there and lived there for a month. She'd come home on the weekends, and then we drive her back home. That's actually in London. Yeah. And so that was a great reprieve for us, because we could breathe. We knew she was safe there. Even though we had a long drive to go there and back every Friday, every Sunday.
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Is that the big white house?
Yes.
CPRI? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm like, I never knew what that was.
Yeah, they were absolutely awesome there. Absolutely awesome. It helped her a lot to understand herself, because they did all the assessments that I had been asking the schools down here to do that they just kept refusing to do. So, she learned a ton about herself. And so when she came out, she was much more regulated. She wasn't, perfect, but nobody is, but she was much more regulated, which really helped the household. And I went back to therapy so that I could deal with my stuff. Yeah. And then just before COVID hit, so now we're 5 years ago now, just before COVID hit, I was saying to my husband, I think I need to go back on my antidepressants, because I was starting to really have another bad time. And really thinking about, those suicidal thoughts again. And he looks at me, we're walking the dogs, he looks at me, he goes, I didn't even know you stopped. Because I knew what I did wasn't right, but I wasn't willing to admit it. And he goes, well, I should just stop taking my insulin then. He's type 1 diabetic. I go, no, I don't want you to die. He goes, well, he just gives me this look.
Same, honey.
So I went to the doctor, and I got back on my antidepressants. And things have been much more level. There's still ups and downs, but there's not the downs to the point where I'm considering harming myself. They're just downs where it's like, oh, this is a rough day. I think I might just sleep through it, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
But it used to be those down days where I think I'm just going to jump off a bridge. And so, yeah, it's been a crazy time. That's my whole story in a nutshell, really, really big nutshell.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, I mean,
yeah, it's all, you know, it's all very familiar. But wait, you didn't tell us when you found out that you were autistic.
Right. See, there's just so much. It's hard to keep it all straight. There's so much. So it was during COVID. I want to say 4 years ago. Yeah, I want to say it was about 4 years ago now, because it wasn't at the beginning of COVID. It was like more into the middle. And I came out of my room. Love is sitting on the couch. Came out of my room doing that like weird dancey thing that I do, and it's really just because I'm stimming. And she looks at me and she goes, "Mom, if I'm autistic, I got it from you." I'm like, huh. And I stopped and I thought, and I went, all those times people said, "That's a little odd." I went, "No, she's just like her mom." "What are you talking about?" "She's just like her mom." I'm like, huh, maybe she is just like her mom, because maybe her mom is also. So I researched. I found a clinic that dealt with adult autism diagnosis specifically, because it is very different. I mean, we've learned through life how to mask a lot better than when we were kids, because I'm thinking about me as a kid. I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to have meltdowns and my mom didn't know what to do, and she would put me in my room and shut the door, because even like I remember my mom asking the doctor for help, and he was just like, "You have to discipline her more." What are you doing? You have to discipline her more. It's because she's spoiled. And it's like, that was never the case. But what do you do when you're asking for help and you're not getting good direction, right? So I mean, I don't fault her at all for that. But yeah, so I'm like, huh, okay. So I went, the assessment takes hours, over multiple days. And so afterwards she goes, "Yes, I think I would diagnose you with moderate autism." And I'm like, huh, I feel very vindicated right now. Like I had taken, you know how they have those online surveys? I had taken so many of them, and all of them came back with, "Yeah, you probably are." And so, and all my life, like I said, I didn't feel like I fit in, and I felt like I had to force myself into this box that it didn't feel right. And so when I finally got that diagnosis, I mean, obviously it didn't change anything about me, but I went, I finally understand me. And now
there's a reason that I am the way that I am.
Exactly. So it's so nice. And since then I've learned, you know, obviously I was already learning. I love research when it comes to like helping my kid, not other things. So I did a ton of research on how the autism brain works and what kind of coping skills work and how can we set up our lives in like the charts and the reminders and all that stuff. And I was like, I can use this for me, and it's helped. Like my calendar is all nice and color coded, and like my husband laughs. He's like, "You work the same shift every week. Like why is work even in your calendar?" I'm like, "It needs to be there because that's part of my life, and I need to see that it's there." Like it doesn't change, but I need to see it there. So just things like that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a system, I have a routine, and this is why I need it, and it's so helpful. And when I'm getting overwhelmed, I don't have to feel like, so a big thing with my mom is like, you don't rest, you go because that's how my grandma was. My grandma's, you go, you go from one job to your next job, and you don't sit down, you clean the house and you cook and you do all that. Oh my gosh, I can't. I can't. And so I always felt, again, that burden of, oh, I can't do it. I must be an awful person. No.
There's something wrong with me.
Exactly. And absolutely not. So now I'm like, huh, I know what I'm going to do today. So nothing. And it's a planned nothing. It's not that I'm being lazy. I am going to do nothing. And so sometimes my mom will be like, what are you doing today? I'm like, nothing. And she'll be like, oh, so you want to do something? I'm like, no. What I want to do is nothing. Like, if I say I don't know what I'm doing today, that means I haven't decided. But if I say I'm doing nothing, I have decided that I am doing nothing. So it is a day of recuperation. But before the diagnosis, that I couldn't wrap my brain around having a day like that. That's you don't do that.
Yeah. And it's so life-changing getting any sort of diagnosis, whether it's, neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, giftedness, whatever it is that sort of explains why you are the way you are, or even a mental health diagnosis, like, oh, depression. Yes, this is why I feel the way that I feel, or anxiety, or, any of these things. And it's just knowing that you're not broken, that
Yes.
there's a reason, it's just my brain works a little differently, or, which is mental health or neurodivergence, both. It's
Right?
just like my brain is just working a little differently,
Yeah.
or I have too much stimulation that I am not meant to process this much in a
Exactly.
day, which is,
Yes.
anxiety, and why everybody has anxiety, because we're just inundated with everything all the time.
Right?
But knowing that, oh, okay, there's a reason that I feel the way that I feel, just in and
Yeah.
of itself can be life-changing.
Exactly. And so it was like this big thing. And my husband jokes, and it's definitely a joke. He'll say, because I'll be doing just silly, weird things while we're out, because it's just stimming, right? Like it just feels good. That's the best way to describe it. And he'll be like, I didn't marry autistic Randy. And I'm like, oh, you did. I just masked it better. He's like, I'm like, yeah, 18 years together. I ain't masking nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you had to give a piece of advice to somebody who was struggling and feeling suicidal themselves, what would you tell them?
Reach out for help, which is way easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always like to say, if your help is maybe that you tell your cat or your dog, once you say it out loud, you might be more apt to then reach out to a human who can help. But if that reaching out to a human feels too daunting and is some kind of admittance of being broken, which you're not, but it feels like it, then start smaller. Start with telling a cat, a dog, a horse, a bug, a flower, whatever. Start with something small and manageable, and then maybe from there you can jump to something else. But the first thing that we need to do is admit to ourselves that something is not working.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons that I really love the crisis text line, is because you can say it on your phone with your thumbs, but you don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to use your voice, because then you also hear it, and then sometimes
It's
that
scary.
seems really scary. But you can still at least text it to somebody and say, I'm not okay. But you can also text people, not necessarily the crisis text line, if you want to text somebody instead of calling them on the phone or saying it in real life out loud.
It's nice we have choices now.
Yes, absolutely. Reaching
back
out. And I
back
love
in
that.
the 90s, we didn't have choices. There was no choices.
No, we had to talk to real people all the time.
And it was so scary. Real people are scary. But yeah, no, we have choices. So yeah, use them.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story with all of its ups and downs and ins and outs and somersaults.
It's a lot of things.
It is a lot of things, but it's perfect, because that's how life is. It's not a straight line, and it never will be.
No, definitely not.
So it's just a great example that, crazy things happen to us nonstop, and we get through them, and it's okay. Like you said, it's also okay to stop and rest so that you can keep going, and plan those nothing days so that you have more strength when you need to start moving forward again.
Exactly.
So yes, thank you again for being here. You mentioned a book. What's the name of your book?
So I actually have a bunch of books that I've written. The ones that I kind of talked about, the one is called Embracing Me. So that's my journey with depression. And then
Okay.
the other one about my brother's death by drug overdose is called Goodbye Too Soon.
Okay. Awesome.
And then
Thank you.
all of the other ones are on Amazon.
Cool. I will definitely look into those, and I hope other people do too.
Me too.
Thank you again for being here and for sharing your story. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Remember that you are loved, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are meant for more, and that it really does get better. If you are in crisis, there are numbers that you can call or text to get the help that you need. That information for Canada and the US is in the description below each episode. If you are in immediate crisis, please call 911. We love you, and I hope you'll listen again.